Now, if you watch my channel on a regular basis, you would know how much I absolutely love doing budget RCs and cheap RCs here on my channel. Now, when Banggood contacted me asking me if I'd like to have a look and review this 1/12 scale Baja Buggy, I absolutely said yes. So let's not waste any more time. Let's get into today's video. Welcome back to the channel. So yes, we are going to be taking a look at this 1/12 scale Baja Buggy today. Now, when I was looking at the newly listed products on the Banggood website, this was one of the ones that actually caught my eye. And I was really pleased when they actually asked me if I'd like to actually test one out on the channel. Because I think it is very eye-catching. I really like the body on it, but not only that, it is in that sort of budget price range, and I know a lot of you guys out there who do watch my channel are always looking for another new, potentially really good little budget RC. Now, if you haven't already, be sure to hit that subscribe button to stay up to date with all the latest RC content. Also, give me a follow on social media. Now, the way we're going to do this today is we're going to take a look, first of all, at what you actually get included in the box, followed by a little bit of a closer look at the buggy itself, because it does have some nice features, especially at that price point. Once we've done that, we'll get everything ready, we'll get the batteries charged up, we'll head out and we'll see how it performs. Right, so in the box we get a 2-channel transmitter. Doesn't feel too bad. Plastic, yeah, it feels a little bit cheap, but again, something in this price range is definitely acceptable. We've got a nice foam grip on the wheel there. That does feel quite nice. Now, feature-wise, we've got steering trim, steering dual rate, but we don't have a throttle dual rate on this, or there's no way to actually turn the throttle down. Now, when you look at other RCs in this sort of price range, a lot of them do feature the ability to turn the throttle down a little bit, which is good for people who are starting out or beginners who may not want the car to go, you know, sort of full throttle all the time. But that's not something we get on this. But we're not going to complain too much about that. This is acceptable, you know, in this sort of price range. We've got 2 batteries, 2 lithium-ion batteries. Both of those are 1500 milliamps. They are 10C. These things aren't too powerful, but again, they will get the job done on this little 1/12 scale buggy. Got a black and white manual, and I have had a brief look at that. Very basic. There's not a lot going on in there. We've got a USB charger and we've got a screwdriver. Now, the screwdriver is an interesting one because that is potentially something you're going to have to carry around with you at all times, and we're going to talk more about that in a moment. Okay then, so let's take a look at some of the features that we get on this 1/12 scale Baja Buggy. Now, I think we'll talk about the body first of all. I do quite like the colour scheme on this. I think the blue, the green and the white does look quite good. Definitely eye-catching. And like I said earlier on in the video, the body was one of the things that actually caught my eye when I was looking at the newly listed products on the Banggood website. I really like this black wing on the back. It is quite flexible and it does feel well made. And I reckon that could definitely take a little bit of a beating. Now, you may be able to just see on the back there, this does feature a wheelie bar. Now, I don't know how much power that small brushed motor is going to be putting out, but we do get a wheelie bar, so I'm hoping we see some wheelies when we take this thing out. Now, we've got a nice carbon fibre driver there. We've also got LED lights. Now, looking at the suspension setup on this, this does feature friction shocks, and they are very bouncy. As you can see here, there's no denying these things are extremely bouncy. Now, again, comparing this to other models at this sort of price point, you do tend to see oil-filled shocks, but I'm not going to complain too much because I do want to wait and see how this actually performs before I give you my final verdict. Now, we've got metal CVD drive shafts on the front. We've got normal dog bones on the rear. Now, these do look quite thick and well made, so I'll be interested to see how they actually get on. Now guys, this is quite a basic buggy, but we do have to remember who this is actually aimed at. This is going to be aimed at people who are new to RC or people who are looking to get into RC. Potentially, this is going to be a really good model for the kids because of how basic it actually is. It's definitely one of those models that would really suit the kids or people who are brand new to the RC hobby. Now let's talk about the wheels and tyres. Now generally they don't look too bad. I think you're either going to really like these or you're going to hate them. They are sort of like a sand paddle hybrid. I can't say I'm the biggest fan of these. Compound wise, very, very firm compound. Very firm compound. I don't think these have got inserts either. I think these are probably my least favourite thing about this buggy so far. So let's talk very briefly about the electronics on this. Now I've looked everywhere and I cannot find any information about the 2-in-1 ESC and receiver unit that you actually get included on this. Now the only thing I do know about is the motor. It's a 390 size brush motor. But when it comes to any technical details about the ESC and the receiver, the 2-in-1 combo, there's very little out there, so your guess is as good as mine. Now, it is pretty much exactly the same situation when it comes to the servo. There's not a huge amount of information out there. This whole setup here is a little bit different to what you'd also expect to see. I'm hoping this actually performs well, though. It doesn't look too bad. I'd like to know what the power output is of the servo, but again, there isn't a huge amount of information out there. So as you can see there, this does have metal drive shafts running through the centre of the chassis as well. We've also got front and rear diffs on this. Pretty much everything that you'd expect to see on a cheap budget RC such as this. Now, along with the metal components, we also get ball bearings throughout. This thing's really starting to look like a fairly decent little buggy, but there is one thing that I really dislike about this, and that is the battery tray. Now, the battery tray for this is underneath, and the only way to open it is by undoing a screw. Now, as you see, I have had to remove a screw just to get to my battery tray. Now, this is an issue because if I'm out in the field at my favourite bashing location, if I was to lose that screw, I'm not going to be having a good day. I think they could have potentially found a better way to secure that flap, because that is just a bit of a pain in the ass. Right, so we've had a look at what you get in the box. We've also taken a closer look at the buggy itself. Now, there's only one thing left to do, and that is to actually get this out, to test it and see how it actually performs. Now, there are a couple of little things on this which I'm a little bit uncertain about at this stage, which is why I really want to test it out to see how it performs, because at this price point, there are some other offerings out there which could potentially be, a better option to go for. But let's not jump to any conclusions. Let's get this thing out. We'll see how it performs, and then we'll go from there. So I'll get the batteries charged up, we'll head out, and we'll see how we get on. I'll see you in a moment. Right then, so I've just finished testing out this little 1/12 scale Baja Buggy. Now, it didn't perform too badly. Like we said earlier, having that wheelie bar was absolutely useless. This doesn't have enough power in it to actually perform a wheelie. Now, it didn't handle too badly, especially on this sort of surface. Now, for the price of this, I think we have to consider other options out there as well. Now, don't get me wrong, this does come with a list of nice features, and it's definitely well suited to someone who's brand new into the RC hobby, or potentially, one for the kids. For someone like me, this isn't necessarily a buggy I would use all the time, but it is a good option for a beginner. Now, I think the shocks are just a little bit too springy for my liking. To the average person, that's really not going to make a difference, but I'm not a massive fan of the shock setup on this. When it comes to the handling, I think the steering servo did feel a little bit weak. Now, that is something you could potentially upgrade at a later date, but again, for the price that you're paying for this, I would sort of expect a little bit of a better steering servo. At least that's just my opinion anyway. Now, when it comes to the power and how fast this actually is, it isn't that fast at all. But what I do like about that is the fact that if you was to hand this to someone who's brand new, I really don't think they're going to cause any serious damage if they was to actually crash one of these. Now, I didn't speed test it today because, I don't think it's going to be that impressive. And that isn't what this buggy is about. This buggy is not about speed. It's about a good, being a good option, a good entry point for someone to get into RC. Now, if you are considering one of these, it would definitely be a good option if you're new to the RC hobby, but just bear in mind there are a lot of other alternatives out there in this sort of price range. We're seeing lots and lots of new entries coming into the RC market now at around the sort of £50 to $100 range. There's so many different options out there. If you're looking for speed, I really don't think this is going to be the one to go for. If you're a beginner, and you're thinking of getting into the hobby, this would be a good option. But again, like I said, you have to consider every possible RC that you could buy, but this is definitely a viable option. So we're going to leave the video there today. I really hoped you enjoyed seeing this little 1/12 scale Baja Buggy in action, and if you did, I will leave a link in the description below for you to head over to Banggood and check it out. Good option for the beginners and also a good option for the kids. Cheers guys, and I will see you again soon on the next one. Take care.